This colorful necklace is like a wearable party. It incorporates a sparkling faux druzy pendant and a wide variety of sizes, shapes, and colors of beads. Hi there, Sandy Huntress here. Thank you so much for taking this class. We're going to be making this necklace using what seems like a random assortment of colors, but once I explain it to you, you will see that there actually is a plan. I like the unexpected mix here that seems like it shouldn't work, but it actually does. So this necklace started with this pendant. And if you don't know how to make faux druzys, I did a Friday Findings video on that on my YouTube channel. I'll link to that. This was a bezel that I found at my craft store and removed what came in it because I didn't like it, and then added my own. And this is, like I said, where it all started. And I don't know how well the camera picks it up. I think you can see it. I actually pulled my colors from the different colors of sparkles on the pendant. And this looks like just a seemingly random mess, but actually it's all from in here. If you look carefully, and I'll kind of spread these out, it's sort of like an archaeological dig. The ones I pulled out first are on the bottom. I pulled out greens because if you look at this, you see there's bright green, there's blue green, there's kind of a yellowy green. There's also some purple sparkles. So I've got different shades of purple. There's even a fuchsia, kind of a bright one. Of course, there's black and gray. And I also pulled in a bit of copper to go with the bezel setting. What I have in mind to do with these is make kind of an unusual design for stringing. I want to make 3 strands, like you saw in the photo, that are all linked together. And instead of doing our usual finish where we loop the wire around something at the end with crimps, I want to have loops of some of these smaller beads. I thought that would just add some interest. So I'll have my 3 strands, one on each of one of these links. And then I'll have 1 strand that goes around the back of the necklace. That will reduce the bulk. I also have in mind to lay these out symmetrically because there's so much going on. There's so much color and busyness in here, and that's why I have my bead design board. So 1 strand will have this pendant on it, and the other strands will have other things. I think what I want to do first is select my 3 strands of smallish beads for the ends. Alright, I think I'll use those 2 strands around the back of the necklace. These 3 will be our loops. And now I have to decide, let's pull out some of these bigger beads. Which ones do I want to be my main ones? Well, I really like these copper beads. So I think I might have one of these on either side of one of the strands. And I like these purple beads. So really, I've piled all of this on the board, and then what happens is just a matter of elimination. I just start pulling out ones. Okay, I want the matte ones, not the shiny ones. I thought it would be fun also to have some different shapes. So these are side drilled teardrops, and I also have some side drilled leaves mixed in there. So I'm just going to go through, pull out some of my bigger ones, and once those are pulled out, I will lay out smaller ones to fill in between until I like the composition of colors. Now the reason that this works, there's actually only 3 main colors in this design. There's green and purple and blue. What I'm doing though is I'm doing all sorts of shades of each, or really you could say it's green and purple, because this is a blue-green. But if you look at all these different shades of green, this is what gives it a really rich look and what makes it work together, because these are all green. Oh, I really like this one. There's just yellowy greens and blue greens and brighter greens, more of a leaf green. And so the more that you put in, if I only had like, I don't know, 2 that didn't go great together, like maybe those 2. Those don't look bad together. Those 2 don't look fantastic together. If I only had those 2, it wouldn't look great. But by putting them all together, you just get this really rich look Just like when you look at shades of colors in nature, there isn't just one, there's all different, and it's especially true with greens that you can see. You have the blue green of a spruce and the bright green of a deciduous tree with new leaves, and all those different colors together meld and make something really beautiful and rich looking with a lot of depth. So this is kind of a fun project for using a lot of leftover beads. I'm going to go ahead and record the design layout process for you because some of you have told me that you enjoy watching it and observing it. While I do that, I will also show you the names of the beads that I have that I'm using. If I have names, a lot of these came from Dollar Bead Box. I'll let you know. If you're not interested, when I edit this video, I'll give you a timestamp that you can jump ahead to see the finishing process. But this is how I lay it out. So the first thing I did was I took all these upstairs to a space where I had more room and dumped them all out and sorted them by size. That's how I usually lay things out, and it's a good idea. You start with the biggest and then fill in. I also decided not to use these. Boy, that's a beautiful color, but there aren't any other blues like this in here. It kind of goes, but I decided to swap out this turquoise. I think it goes better overall. These are the three I'm going to be, and this is, let's see. This is Czech fire polish 3mm beads in blue zircon, 4mm matte warm copper. These are all from Dollar Bead Box, if I don't say otherwise. 3mm ocean green opal. And these are a 3mm Czech fire polish in a purple that I will put a link to. So the first thing I did after I got my layout, by the way, is I snapped a picture of it. Very helpful. So if things get bumped or messed up, like my cat jumped up on the space where I was working because it's actually his spot to lay down and keep me company. He was very offended when I moved him away. So I'm going to start with these biggest. I really like these copper beads and they go great with this pendant. And I'm also going to put something in the center of every strand. So that one's going to get that turquoise nugget. And as I mentioned before, I really like these matte purple beads, so I think I'll put those maybe here. And since I only have 3 of these, I think I'll put one in the center and then one on each side down here. Oh, that's nice. I like that bright green. Let's see. These are 10mm Czech glass tabular squares in opaque turquoise with travertine. And you can see I'm just using a few of each of these beads to get that really rich look I was talking about. These ones were in my stash, so I don't have a link to them, but I like the idea that they're top drilled so they'll dangle down and give you kind of a different texture. If you are enjoying this video, then be sure you thank my patrons. They are the only reason I am still making videos on YouTube. And if you like the idea of more, I make 2 bonus tutorials for them every month. You can check it out at patreon.com/SandySowen. And to those of you who are already patrons, thank you so much. You can see how handy one of these bead design boards is. I don't know how I would do this without it. I have these pink coral beads, and then these are just from the craft store, but I love them because they're very juicy looking. Well, that's pretty. Let's see, these ones are 8x10mm Czech glass table cut oval in, I'm guessing that's ocean blue, not olive. Let's see, maybe if I put these right in the center and if I have my pendant hanging from in between them. I like that. Okay. These are kind of fun. Again, a different texture. These are 8 by 12 millimeter Czech glass vintage style twist, green and white crystal. Those are fun. So maybe out here. Of course, with the bead board, it gives you an approximation of how long each of your strands is going to be, but you'll have to do some adjusting once you get down to stringing. Let's see, how about these green ones? These are 7 millimeter Czech fire polish in ocean green luster. Now, just in interest of full disclosure, I'm actually making these decisions. I actually made these design decisions a while ago upstairs where I had a little bit more room to work. And so sometimes things got moved around. Like I had more of these and I moved them about. And feel free to do that. They don't always end up staying in the first place you put them. So I just lifted this up and then slid those, swapped places with some. These look like the same thing but in a different purple. 7 millimeter Czech fire polish in metallic violet. So in a way you could call this a green and purple necklace, but it's not going to read as strictly green and purple, because I've got all these shades of green ranging down to turquoise, and I've got all these shades of purple from fuchsia and a pink. But in the end, because you do it this way, it really does all work together. Let's see, these ones I think were from Fire Mountain Gems, and I got them a long time ago. I don't know if they have them anymore. I think it's, I don't know, magnetite? I'm not sure what that is. 6 millimeter rounds. But I thought they would add an interesting pop in between these green ones, and so they do. Now to add in some black, because there's black in this, and I think that will add some really nice contrast. I seem to have left that one upstairs. So sometimes, like, I'm going to surround these green ones with these. And kind of, that's what I find I end up doing a lot, is bracketing things with other things. And then filling in. And these are nice, 6 millimeter Czech glass bicones in jet. Again, a different shape, a different texture. And I think this time I will bracket these copper beads, so that really makes them pop nicely. Like that. Getting down there, let's see, these are an interesting shape. These are squishy saucers. 6 by 8 millimeter Czech glass in amethyst. Okay, squishy saucer. Maybe in between the green and maybe here in between the black. And as I was designing this, I just kept looking at the strands I had left that I hadn't used, and looking at this and trying to decide what I didn't have. I decided I needed a little bit more of a dark turquoise. And these are sweet little, 3 millimeter Czech fire polish and opaque turquoise. And let's put some in between these purple ones. Oh, I like that. See how the contrast, I just love the contrast, the way it makes them pop. And maybe, maybe down here too, between the green and the purple. maybe even right here. Ooh, I like that. Oop. Get back where you go. Oh yeah, I like that a lot. All right, one last thing. These are 4mm Czech glass Druk beads in Chartreuse. And I do like this bit of bright green here, so I think I'll bring in some more of it, contrasting with that fuchsia. I like that. So let's see. On either side of those twisty beads, and then in between the fuchsia. There. Now that all really reads well together. It just looks like it would work, doesn't it? And even with, let's see, with these, I like that bit of, yeah, that purple and the copper and turquoise. And like I chose earlier, these black ones going around the back. So now what you need is some bead stringing wire. Maybe I'll cut about 15 inches just to be sure I have plenty. Oh, and another decision needs to be made. Which of these to use? I've got the squares, which I think would look cool in a diamond shape. And I have two sizes of rounds. And I think I'm going to go, are those soldered? Oh, those are soldered, so maybe I won't go with those. Yeah, I can go with those. Actually, I wanted a soldered ring to begin with, and then I saw these and didn't care if they were soldered or not, because I thought they just looked so cool. But yes, these are soldered closed. They don't have a split. So, ooh, I'll have to get some pliers and take those apart. All right, I went and got me some nice flat nose pliers just to take these apart. If you do end up using rings that are not soldered closed, you just have to be sure that you close them very snugly and make sure your loops of beads won't fit through the slit. But if you possibly can, it's really a much better, oh, I'm making a mess, a much better choice to use rings that aren't soldered closed. Just throw a bead clamp on my bead stringing wire and string on some beads. And I think just to keep it interesting, I'll use a different number of beads on each loop. So let's see if we can make this work. It's always fun when it does. There. Oh, that's fun. So much easier. Let's see, what do we got here? 3, 6, 10. Is that a good loop? Oh, that's a little small. Smaller than I was thinking, so maybe another 6 or 7. 8, 12, 17. That's more what I was thinking of. So I'll remember that, and I'll do the same on the other end. But then the other ones I might do 20 something. Next I need a crimp. And I'm going to need a jump ring for my pendant. I'll have to go find one of those because the loop is facing the wrong way to hang on the wire. Alright, so we'll throw on a crimp. And that all the way down. Grab this other end of the wire, and don't forget to put it through your ring, because if it's closed, this is your only opportunity to do so. Put that wire back through the crimp. Oh, I like the way that looks. That's cool. That's going to look very elegant, especially with all of those in different lengths. And use your favorite crimping pliers. I'm going to pull that a little snug and then back it off a tiny bit so that I have room for a crimp cover. What do I always tell you? Test, 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 test. Give it a good tug. Okay. Awesome. Snip off that excess wire. Oh, and I have a new tool to show you. I need to do a Friday Findings video of it. I came across these at my local craft store and said, oh, cool. These are made just for closing crimp covers. You know how I've always been one to use just my crimping pliers, but one problem this causes is that it often will dent your crimp covers, especially if they're made of softer metal. So I thought this was cool and intriguing, and I'm not sure if I love them actually, because while they don't dent your crimp cover the way the crimping pliers do, I found it very difficult for them to make them close evenly. So you pick it up just the way you would, and then pop it over the crimp and squeeze, as you might guess. And what do you know, that one kind of made a liar out of me, because that one closed pretty neatly and without any dents. And now it's time to string on one of my strands of beads. Don't forget to put on your pendant when you need to, or if you're going to use a jump ring that opens, just leave a little slack for it. You can add that later. I'm just going to start stringing these, and I'll repeat the crimping and the attaching the loop at the other end. And I'll repeat for all the other strands. Like I said, probably using different amounts of beads, so I'll have slightly different lengths of loops. And I'll do the exact same thing with the black beads going around the back. Just bead stringing wire, crimps, crimp covers, and then of course the other ends will attach to a clasp. So while I was stringing, I realized there were actually a few more things I wanted to show you. First of all, as I was stringing this strand, I realized that it was much too short. This is the one that's going to hold my pendant, and it was only about 3.5 inches long, and it needs to be at least as long as the other ones, if not longer. So I took the opportunity to add in a few more of these juicy beads, as well as some 4mm Czech glass Druks in turquoise, and some of these little pinch beads. They're 3x5mm Czech glass pinch in, I believe, jet hematite. Oh, and by the way, this is the one that I added here that I didn't have. 6mm Czech fire polish in vintage hematite. The other thing I wanted to show you is that when you get done stringing your beads and you're ready to string the loop for the other side, make sure you add your crimp first. Then add your beads. So I had 17 of these copper 3mm Czech fire polish here. So I did the same here. Try not to drop them all over the floor like I did. Oh my goodness, what a mess. And then you just make sure you put on your link, especially if it's a soldered closed one, and put your wire back through the crimp. And go ahead and pull that up snug, and then back it off a little so that you have like 1/8 of an inch, just to give yourself room for your crimp cover. And then crimp it and add the cover, and carry on with the rest of your strands. Now that you've seen this technique, be sure you check out all the necklaces I have in my beaded necklace playlist.